My beloved brothers and sisters, every one of us faces moments in life when the path ahead seems uncertain. We worry about our future, our sustenance, our health, our families, and the endless challenges that surround us. In those moments of fear and doubt, the question arises, who do we truly rely on? Is it our wealth, our connections, our abilities, or is it the one who created us and controls everything in existence? There is a powerful secret to living a life of peace and strength, and that secret lies in trusting Allah completely, not partially, not only when things are easy, but with full conviction that whatever unfolds is by His divine wisdom. Trust in Allah is not blind faith. It is the greatest form of clarity. It is to know that even when we cannot understand the reason behind our struggles, the one who sees the unseen already has a perfect plan for us. When your heart learns to rest in the decree of Allah, you stop being shaken by the storms of life. You realize that setbacks are not punishments but redirections, that delays are not rejections but protections, and that losses often open doors to something far greater. This trust transforms worry into patience, fear into courage, and despair into hope. It gives you the strength to walk through life with calmness, knowing that the one who never abandons his servant is guiding every step. Today, I want to take you on a journey of the heart, towards complete reliance on Allah, a journey where we learn to surrender not because we are weak, but because we know the true strength lies in placing our affairs in the hands of the Almighty. If you want to unlock peace, purpose, and unwavering hope, then listen carefully, for trusting Allah completely is the key that changes everything. Trusting Allah is not just a statement we make with our tongues. It is a way of living, a condition of the heart, and a sign of true faith. Many people believe that trusting Allah means simply sitting back, doing nothing, and waiting for miracles to fall into their laps. But that is not trust, that is negligence. Real trust in Allah means combining sincere effort with a surrendered heart. It means using the mind, body, and abilities He has blessed you with, while at the same time knowing that the ultimate outcome is never in your hands. It is in His. Imagine a farmer. He cannot expect crops to grow if he refuses to plow the land, plant the seeds, and water the soil. If he sits back at home and says, "I trust Allah," yet takes no steps, his trust is incomplete. But when he prepares the land, does everything in his capacity, and then says, "I leave the result to Allah," that is real reliance. In life, every one of us is like that farmer. We work hard, we plan, we take steps, but we know deep in our hearts that success and provision come only from Allah. This balance is what protects us from arrogance when things go well, and from despair when things go wrong. When a believer truly understands this balance, he begins to live with peace. You study hard for an exam, and you do your revision with sincerity. On the day of the exam, you walk in with trust that Allah will grant you what is best, whether it is success or a lesson to grow stronger. You apply for jobs, attend interviews, present yourself well, but you keep in mind that no company, no employer, and no contract can sustain you unless Allah wills it. This understanding prevents your heart from becoming enslaved to people or outcomes. You no longer beg creation for what only the Creator controls. And let us be honest, many of our worries come from wanting to control everything. We want guarantees. We want to see the results before we even put in the effort. But life does not work like that. Allah wants you to put in your best effort and then to let go of the obsession with results. That surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It is a declaration that you recognize your own limits and you acknowledge Allah's infinite power. When you do your part and leave the rest to Him, your heart becomes light because you are no longer carrying the burden of outcomes that were never in your control to begin with. Think about how many times in your life you worked hard for something, only for it to slip away. At that moment, perhaps you felt pain and disappointment, yet, years later, you look back and realize that what you thought was a loss was actually a blessing in disguise. Perhaps you didn't get that job, but it saved you from an environment that would have harmed you. Perhaps that relationship ended, but it opened your heart to someone far better. Perhaps you failed in one opportunity, but it forced you to discover talents you never knew you had. This is the reality of trusting Allah. You may not always get what you want, but you will always receive what is best. When you live with this mindset, your heart learns to be content. You push yourself, you take the steps, but you are not destroyed by failure, nor are you arrogant in success. You know that the pen has already written your story, and what is written for you will never miss you, just as what was not written for you will never reach you. This belief does not make you passive, it makes you courageous. Because you realize that as long as you are striving sincerely for the sake of Allah, nothing can harm you, and nothing can deprive you of what He has decreed. So remember, trusting Allah is not laziness, and it is not about abandoning effort. It is about walking the path with sincerity, and then leaving the destination in His hands. It is about tying your camel firmly, as the Prophet taught, and then knowing that protection comes only from Allah. It is about planting the seed, watering it with hope, and then resting in the shade of faith, knowing that whatever grows or doesn't grow is part of Allah's perfect plan. That is when the heart finds peace. That is when your life becomes lighter. That is when you truly understand the beauty of trusting Allah completely. True faith shines not when life is smooth, but when life tests you. Anybody can claim to have trust in Allah when the fridge is full, the pockets are heavy, the family is healthy, and every plan seems to unfold perfectly. But the real question is, what happens when things suddenly go wrong? What happens when your health declines, when wealth disappears, when doors are shut in your face, or when you are struck with loss? It is in those moments of darkness and hardship that the depth of your faith is revealed. Think about it, even the hypocrites of the past, when everything went well, would join the believers and appear committed. But when trials came, their weakness was exposed. This is because faith is not proven by words alone. It is proven by patience, trust, and steadfastness when the world seems to crumble around you. Hardship is like a storm. It shakes everything, and only the tree with the strongest roots can remain standing. Your faith in Allah is that root. The storm will come, the winds will blow, but if your heart is rooted in trust, you will remain firm until the skies clear again. Many of us misunderstand hardship. We see it as punishment, we see it as rejection, and we quickly ask, why me? But in reality, hardship is one of the greatest teachers of faith. If everything in your life was always easy, would you ever know what it means to truly rely on Allah? If every dua was answered instantly, would you ever taste the sweetness of patience? If every door opened immediately, would you ever experience the humility of standing before Allah, begging Him, crying to Him, and surrendering your soul completely to Him? It is only when the rug is pulled out from beneath us that we learn where we stand and who we must cling to. In fact, the prophets, those most beloved to Allah, faced the toughest hardships. They lost family members, they were mocked, they were rejected by their own people, and they suffered in ways that many of us cannot even imagine. Yet their stories were preserved for us as reminders. Faith is not an escape from hardship, it is the strength that carries you through it. Look at the patience of Prophet Job, peace be upon him. He lost wealth, children, health, yet he never lost his trust in Allah. His heart remained steady, and eventually Allah restored his blessings even greater than before. His story is a powerful lesson that hardship is never permanent for the one who remains firm in faith. When your heart begins to understand this, you stop viewing difficulties as curses. Instead, you begin to see them as opportunities to prove your faith and elevate your status with Allah. Every tear you shed in patience is recorded. Every sleepless night you spend in prayer is seen. Every sigh of pain that you bear with hope is rewarded. You realize that the world may see your struggle as a downfall, but in the sight of Allah, it may be the very moment your soul is rising higher. Think of gold. Gold is placed in fire not to destroy it, but to purify it. In the same way, believers are tested not to break them, but to polish them, to remove the impurities of arrogance, selfishness, and attachment to the world. When the fire of hardship touches you, and you still choose to say, "I trust Allah's plan," you are being polished into someone stronger, someone purer, someone ready to receive greater blessings. That is why the people with the hardest tests often turn out to be the people with the most unshakable hearts. So the next time you are hit with difficulty, pause and remind yourself, this is the moment my faith is being measured. Anyone can say, "I believe," when the sun is shining, but true belief is proven when you can still say, "Alhamdulillah," in the storm. It is when you can lift your hands in dua, not with anger, but with humility, saying, "O Allah, I do not understand this pain, but I trust your wisdom." That is the language of real faith. That is the strength that makes angels record your patience with amazement. Remember, hardships are not there to destroy you. They are there to uncover your faith. They are there to show you that your trust in Allah is not just a slogan, but a living reality. When you face the storms of life with that mindset, every trial becomes a stepping stone, every setback becomes a setup for something better, and every hardship becomes proof that your heart belongs fully to Allah. One of the hardest lessons in life is to accept that not everything happens when we want it, how we want it, or in the exact form we imagined it. We live in a world that glorifies instant results. We want quick success, quick money, quick recognition, and even quick solutions to our problems. When a door closes, we panic. When a delay comes, we lose patience. But the truth is that every delay, every closed door, every disappointment carries with it a hidden wisdom from Allah. Nothing happens without purpose, and nothing is withheld from you unless it is for your own good. Think about it. How many times have you desperately wanted something in the past, so badly that you thought your life would not be complete without it? Yet years later, you look back and realize that not getting it was the best thing that could have happened. Perhaps you prayed for a job, but Allah closed that door. At the time, you felt devastated, but later you realized that the environment of that workplace was toxic, or that the role would have crushed your spirit. Perhaps you prayed for a relationship, but it ended in heartbreak. At the time, you couldn't understand why, but later you discovered that Allah had saved you from a path that would have harmed your faith, your peace, or your future. The closed door was not rejection, it was protection. We must remember that Allah sees what we cannot see. He knows what lies ahead in your future, while you are only aware of the present. Sometimes what you think is a blessing might actually be a trap, and sometimes what you think is a setback might actually be the foundation of your greatest success. When Allah delays something, it is not because He has forgotten you. It is because He loves you enough to give it to you at the right time, in the right way, or to replace it with something infinitely better. Look at the lives of the prophets. Prophet Yusuf Joseph, peace be upon him, was thrown into a well by his brothers, sold as a slave, and imprisoned for years for a crime he did not commit. If you were to pause his story at any of those points, it would seem like failure after failure, a closed door after another. But when the time was right, Allah opened the greatest of doors. He raised Yusuf to a position of authority, reunited him with his family, and gave him honor after humiliation. The delays and the suffering were not wasted, they were preparation. They were part of a plan that Yusuf himself could not have imagined. This is why a believer learns to be patient with delays and closed doors, because faith teaches us that if something is written for you, it will come to you even if the entire world tries to block it. And if something is not written for you, you will never be able to hold on to it, no matter how tightly you cling. This truth brings so much peace. It removes desperation, because you stop chasing after what was never meant to be yours. It removes envy, because you realize that what others receive was written for them, and what you will receive will come in its perfect time. The problem is that we often confuse our limited perspective with ultimate wisdom. We think, if I don't get this now, I will lose everything. But Allah reminds us in countless ways that His plan is always superior. When a door closes, it is often because He is redirecting you to a door you never even knew existed. When your plans fail, it is because He is aligning your life with something greater. And sometimes delays are there to test your sincerity. Will you still worship Allah, still make dua, and still remain patient when things don't happen instantly? This is where trust becomes so important. It is easy to believe in Allah's wisdom when everything is going your way, but real trust is to believe in His wisdom when nothing makes sense. It is to tell yourself, even though I don't understand this closed door, I know the one who closed it is the same one who loves me more than I love myself. He does not withhold except to give better. That mindset transforms your entire outlook. You stop seeing delays as punishments and start seeing them as gifts wrapped in disguise. So the next time you are faced with a delay, a setback, or a closed door, do not let your heart drown in despair. Pause and remind yourself that Allah's timing is perfect. He withholds only to protect. He delays only to prepare. He closes doors only to open better ones. What is written for you will come when it is meant to come, and it will never miss you. With that belief, every closed door becomes a sign of love, every delay becomes a lesson in patience, and every disappointment becomes a stepping stone to something greater. One of the greatest treasures you can ever have in this world is inner peace. People spend fortunes chasing it, searching for it in material wealth, travel, entertainment, and even in relationships. Yet many still end up restless, anxious, and empty. Why? Because true peace is not found in what you possess. It is found in who you trust. When your reliance is on Allah, peace settles into your heart regardless of what is happening around you. You may have little in your hands, but if your heart is connected to the one who owns everything, you walk with a calmness that cannot be purchased or shaken. Life is full of uncertainties. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know if your job will still be there, if your health will remain the same, or if your plans will unfold as expected. If your sense of peace depends only on circumstances being perfect, then you will always be at the mercy of life's ups and downs. But when your peace comes from trusting Allah, you carry tranquility even through storms. Because you know that no matter what changes, the one who never changes is in control. Look at how children trust their parents. A child doesn't lie awake at night worrying about the rent, the bills, or the food for tomorrow. The child knows instinctively, my parents will take care of me. That childlike trust brings complete calmness. Now imagine the peace of the believer who places trust not in fallible humans, but in the Creator of the heavens and the earth. The moment your heart truly rests in Allah's care, fear loses its grip, anxiety loosens its chains, and you begin to experience a serenity that no worldly achievement can give. This peace is not the absence of hardship. A person who trusts Allah completely may still face trials, but the difference is how those trials are experienced. For someone without trust, every setback feels like a collapse, every delay feels like abandonment, and every challenge feels unbearable. But for the one who relies on Allah, the same challenges become tests of patience, opportunities for growth, and chances to draw closer to Him. The pain may still be there, but the heart remains steady because it whispers, "My Lord knows, my Lord sees, my Lord will never let me down." Think of the companions of the Prophet during moments of extreme difficulty. They faced hunger, battles, persecution, and loss. Yet the Quran describes them as people whose hearts were filled with tranquility because of their trust in Allah. They understood that victory does not come from numbers, wealth, or strategy alone. It comes from Allah. That belief gave them courage when others would have collapsed in fear. It gave them calmness in situations that would have terrified anyone else. That is the secret of peace. When your trust lies with the Almighty, you no longer measure life by appearances, but by His wisdom. In our lives today, we often tie our peace to results. We say, I'll be happy when I get this job, when I get married, when I buy that house, when I achieve this dream. But what happens when those things are delayed, or when they don't arrive in the way we expected? If our hearts are only tied to outcomes, we will always feel restless. But if our hearts are tied to Allah, we find peace in every season of life. We learn to say, even if I don't have what I wanted, I have Allah, and that is enough. This mindset transforms your daily struggles. Imagine going into a job interview with complete trust in Allah. Instead of being consumed by nerves, you remind yourself, if this job is written for me, no one can stop it. If it isn't, Allah will replace it with something better. That attitude brings peace. Imagine facing illness. Instead of drowning in fear, you remind yourself, my health is in Allah's hands. If He wills, He will cure me. If He doesn't, He will grant me patience and reward me. That brings peace. In every situation, your reliance on Allah keeps your heart calm, even if your circumstances are chaotic. So the secret to lasting inner peace is not to try to control everything in life. It is to trust the one who already controls everything. The world may still shake, but your heart does not need to. Because your anchor is firm, your reliance is strong, and your trust is complete. And when you live with that kind of trust, you begin to taste a tranquility that no wealth, no status, and no worldly comfort can provide. This is the priceless gift of trusting Allah completely, a peace that lives inside you, untouched by the storms outside. Fear and anxiety are among the heaviest burdens a human being can carry. They rob the heart of calmness, they drain the mind of clarity, and they make even the simplest tasks feel overwhelming. But there is a cure for this weight, and that cure is complete trust in Allah. When you place your affairs in His hands, when you recognize that He controls every outcome, fear begins to dissolve and anxiety begins to fade. Because you realize that nothing in this world can harm you or benefit you except by His permission. Much of our fear comes from worrying about the future. We ask ourselves, what if I lose my job? What if my health declines? What if people betray me? What if my plans collapse? The endless what-ifs can suffocate the heart. But the believer who trusts Allah learns to replace those questions with certainty. Whatever happens, Allah will take care of me. If I lose something, He will replace it. If I face hardship, He will strengthen me. If doors close, He will open better ones. This mindset is powerful. It shifts your focus from fear of the unknown to confidence in the one who knows all things. Even in the Quran, Allah reminds us repeatedly not to fear the creation, but to place our trust in Him. Fear of people, fear of poverty, fear of loss, all of these fade when you remind yourself that Allah is greater than every challenge you will ever face. When you know that He is Al-Wakil, the ultimate disposer of affairs, you stop giving fear the power to rule over you. You start walking with dignity because you are not relying on your own fragile strength. You are relying on the strength of the one who never fails. Think about how fear and anxiety control so many lives. Some people are too afraid to pursue their dreams because they fear failure. Others are too anxious to make decisions because they worry about the outcome. But when you trust Allah, you step forward with courage, knowing that success or failure in this world is never final. What matters is whether you relied on Him and remained sincere. Even if you stumble, that stumble may be part of a greater plan. Even if you lose, that loss may be the doorway to something far better. With trust, fear loses its grip, because you know every path leads to exactly where Allah wants you to be. Consider the words of the Prophet when he told his companions that if they placed their trust in Allah as they should, they would be sustained like the birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return full in the evening. Notice how the birds do not sit idle, but they go out in search of food. They flap their wings, they put in the effort, but they do so without fear or anxiety because their reliance is on Allah. That simple image teaches us that trust is not about doing nothing. It is about working hard without being enslaved to worry. You move forward, but your heart rests in Allah's care. Fear and anxiety often stem from wanting to control what was never in our control. We want certainty in outcomes, but Allah reminds us that certainty belongs only to Him. The believer learns to accept this. You take the medicine, but the cure is from Allah. You go for the interview, but the job is from Allah. You protect yourself, but safety is from Allah. When you accept this truth, anxiety is replaced by surrender, and fear is replaced by courage, because you know you are never alone. Your protector is always with you. Imagine facing a crisis with this mindset: a sudden illness, a financial loss, a betrayal, things that would normally break a person's spirit. Yet the one who trusts Allah says, "I don't know how this will turn out, but I know who is managing my life, and that is enough for me." Such a heart cannot be shaken easily. Fear may knock at the door, but it cannot enter, because trust is guarding the home of the soul. Anxiety may whisper its lies, but the believer answers back, "My Lord is with me." So, if you want to overcome the chains of fear and the weight of anxiety, strengthen your trust in Allah. Remind yourself every day that nothing escapes His knowledge, nothing slips outside His power, and nothing happens without His wisdom. Place your life in His hands, and you will find a peace that fear cannot disturb and an inner strength that anxiety cannot touch. Trusting Allah completely is not just a belief. It is a shield, a comfort, and a source of courage that transforms the way you face every trial in life. My beloved brothers and sisters, life will never be free of tests. At times you will face loss, at times you will face rejection, at times you will face pain. But the difference between a heart that is crushed and a heart that rises lies in trust. When you put your faith in Allah completely, you stop fighting the decree and start flowing with it. You begin to see wisdom in delays, blessings in hardships, and mercy even in moments of struggle. Trusting Allah does not remove the storms of life, but it gives you an anchor that keeps you firm through them all. Remember, your job is to try, to strive, to make sincere effort. The results, the outcomes, the doors that open or close, all of that belongs to Allah. When you surrender to His plan, your heart becomes free from fear and your soul finds peace. And the greatest gift of trust is knowing that no matter where life takes you, you are never alone. Allah is with you, guiding you, protecting you, and preparing you for something greater. So walk forward with courage, face your days with hope, and never forget that every moment of your life is already written by the one who loves you more than you can imagine. Put your affairs in His hands, and you will discover that true strength, true peace, and true happiness come only from trusting Allah completely. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for giving your precious time to listen. May Allah bless you, guide you, and fill your hearts with unshakable trust in Him. Ameen.